We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And we're back on Liberty Nation Radio, joined once again by long-term host of this here radio podcast, Mr. Tim Donner. Earlier in the show, we talked the ousting of Kevin McCarthy. We talked the prospective third GOP debate. But now let's talk a bit more cross-border, Tim, if I may. And specifically, RFK Jr. Is about to make a big announcement on the 9th of October, so just after this show goes out. And many people suspect that will be him announcing an independent run. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's probably more likely, we're splitting hairs to some degree, but not really, and I'll explain why. I think it's more likely a third party run.
Right,
I think it's more likely that it's the Libertarian Party. And the reason is, number one, he's had conversations with them, and they seem open to his style of politics. Although he's a bit interventionist for their liking, but they've, in 2020, they put forward two candidates who were really not libertarians, but had big names. I think it's most likely, and the reason is it'd be easier for him to run as an independent instead of as a libertarian, say, as opposed to an independent, is ballot access. The Libertarian Party has not been successful in attracting votes, but they have been successful in gaining ballot access. And of course, that's critical. So RFK, if he wants to run some wildcat campaign as an independent, fine. But the chances of getting on the ballot, especially in critical states, is
tens of millions of dollars, if not more.
It's not doable. But if he becomes a Libertarian Party standard bearer, he is in the discussion. He's someone who can affect the outcome, both by attracting even 2 or 3% of the vote and by promoting ideas that may force a Biden or a Trump to kind of accommodate a little bit so as to try and win back the people that would plan to vote for RFK. I think the question is, Mark, could he get 2 or 3%, or could he get 12 or 15%? I don't think anybody thinks he can win the election, but
yeah, I mean, is this a Ross Perot moment, right?
Precisely, because of course Perot got 19%. Now he was far more well financed than RFK Jr. is, but I think RFK Jr. what he lacks in breadth, in terms of his support, he makes up for somewhat in depth. He has true believers to his campaign. Some will say they're anti-vax deniers and all the rest, because he has raised alarm bells about the downside of the COVID vaccine and many others. Okay, he's anathema to the Democratic Party, both because he has the audacity to challenge Joe Biden and because he just doesn't, he isn't down with the party line. He's not a far left progressive. He is a true Democrat in the tradition of his own father, who challenged the establishment. And that's exactly what his son is doing now. But I see Democrats trying to say, well, he'll probably draw just as many votes from Republicans. I'm not sure that's true. I mean, it's all speculation. There's so much uncharted territory.
Let me dive in on this, Tim. There was an anonymous campaign worker or staffer for RFK, apparently speaking to Mediate, I think it was, and they said that we're definitely going to be pulling votes from Donald Trump. Now, I wonder if that is just not a play to try and make sure that he gets as many votes as he can from the Democrats. So if the Democrats are worried about, let's say, people who are nominally Democrat who would vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump, if they have, as it were, the permission concept to vote for RFK rather than Joe Biden without letting Donald Trump in, then they'll feel free to do so. So the idea could be.
That sounds like about 5D chess.
I mean, if you're not
3D
playing
or
5D
4D, that's
chess
not
at
like
this level, Tim,
5D chess.
what are they doing if they're not playing that? But here's the thing.
I suppose you're right.
RFK, he's for cryptocurrency. He's for decentralization. Two very libertarian ideas, two ideas that will, without a doubt, appeal to the Trump base. However, he's also pro-abortion, anti-Second Amendment. There's no way you can square that circle with somebody who's, let's say, who voted for Donald Trump in 2016, 2020. And they say, well, you know what? I like cryptocurrency and I like decentralization. I'll just let the abortion thing and the Second Amendment thing go this time because of my Bitcoin. If you know what I mean. It's not tenable that people who voted for Trump.
People make choices all the time. And one of the advantages of the parliamentary system of government that you have in the UK is that you get almost single issue parties that respond to the needs of individual needs, or on a single issue or a small range of issues, and then can form coalitions. Okay, if the party in power doesn't gather a majority here in the United States, it's a bifurcated system. There's only two major parties. So in effect, you've got coalitions within these parties. You got Matt Gaetz in the same party as Lynn Cheney. Okay. You got Jesse Jackson in the same party as Joe Manchin. And that's because we only have two choices, right? So there's people always have to make choices. I think there's a lot of people that voted for Trump that didn't like his personality because they didn't care about that part of it. They didn't care that he was undignified. Other people, the being undignified was the defining factor for them. They would never vote for Trump. So, there's so many factors that go into who somebody might vote for, especially in an election where basically 75% of the people, Mark, said they wish neither of the major party candidates would run.
Yeah, it seems that it might turn out that RFK is possibly the only candidate with a positive approval rating as we near the election. Let's look at the electoral math briefly, if we may. You've got Joe Biden on one side, you've got Donald Trump, you've got a potential RFK in the Libertarian Party. I think that is at least worth 2.5%. As you say, it could go Ross Perot up to a great deal more, but 2.5 to 3% at least, as long as he stays the distance. And then you've got Cornel West in the Green Party. That's another, I can't see that being less than, was it Jill Stein who got 1.9%?
Yeah, I think
under Donald Trump. It can't be less than that, can it?
Yeah, he'll draw, I would suspect Cornel West will draw extreme progressives to the tune of about 2%. Yeah, and that'll come, of course, straight out of Biden's vote. The RFK vote, it's debatable, but I've got to think that it hurts Biden more because he is breaking with orthodoxy of one of the two major parties as in his family as seminal members that basically helped his assassinated father and assassinated uncle help to form the modern Democratic Party that we know today. And so being booted out of that party essentially makes a pretty strong statement. I think the people that are open to him on the conservative side are more people that like Trump and they admire RFK Jr., but they're not going to vote for him. At least that's my overheated take.
I would say you can take those numbers to the bank. Tim Donner, thanks ever so much for joining us.
This was fun, Mark. Thank you.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Don't get caught up in the media madness. Join our movement for free thinking, and free speech at libertynation.com. Publishing news and analysis 24/7 with original articles by our team of authors who tell it like it is. Join us each week for online TV shows, The Uprising Podcast, and Liberty Nation Radio. We believe in free thinking and free speech. We are libertynation.com.